Attention all North Carolina service members, veterans, and their families. Exciting news! NCSERS has joined forces with NC Care 360. Access an expanded network of resources. North Carolina's military community, we're here for you. Visit us today.
Hi, I'm Dave Roddenberry, Director of Veteran and Military Programs at the Governor's Institute. And today we'll examine the unique challenges faced by veterans as they navigate this military to civilian transition process. We'll explore the psychological perspective of transition, pitfalls to be aware of, strategies for resilience, and the crucial role that we all can play as providers in supporting our veteran clients during this important phase. We'll also discuss the impact of transition on spouses and children as they navigate the journey alongside their veterans.
I talk to a lot of people nationally. They're looking at North Carolina and going, how in the world are you doing that?
The aim in this event is to promote collaboration between government and community-based family and veteran services in hopes of improving and preserving the lives of our state service members, veterans, and their families.
Most veterans don't realize this organization's out there just waiting.
All of it's about making sure that our veterans have access without complication to the services they need to do the thing they need to do with.
It's really about saving lives. It's really about helping our military community transition back into our communities to be healthy, to be leaders in our community.
The idea is a simple one. Make life better for veterans, service members, and their families by putting all the things that could help them under one roof. Getting all the agencies, all the organizations, all the individuals committed to veteran well-being in the same room, teaching each other and taking action to make a difference for veterans in the Tar Heels state.
So can I say where it started? That they didn't allow the federal government and the state government to work together. So we got special permission and look where it ended us.
It was nearly 20 years ago when a small group of advocates forged a new path in North Carolina, creating the Governor's Working Group on Veterans, Service Members, and Their Families, the GWG, and with it, a new template for veteran services.
Now all the states do it.
We did make life easier for people, and we did it through everything from service dogs to food banks to people mowing lawns when someone was deployed.
Taker, look at Daddy. You look at me. Okay. I was just blown away as a veteran by going to the Veterans Working Group and seeing, God, there's this many people looking for help veterans.
Bill Dixon began attending the GWG in hopes of finding a writing class designed for former service members.
I met Bill Dixon at that meeting.
Brooke Dickhart, founder of the veteran advocacy group the Joel Fund, took up the challenge and with Bill's help, created the first online writing class for veterans in North Carolina.
It's been amazing. For 3 years, some of these students have been together and every week taking these classes together, so now they're writing their book from their time in the service.
But along with fostering relationships, the GWG's true value is in the scope of its membership.
Welcome. Thank all of you for being here. We've got like 50-some people here in attendance today. That's
Very deeply, I appreciate you lending your time, your effort, your expertise to this.
When a veteran is asking and reaching out, now there's even more of an umbrella out there. And it's a testament of the partnerships through the VA, the state, and these local nonprofits.
I think everyone in that room is kind of a player in each individual veteran case.
Jessica Rice co-chairs the Governor's Working Group's Housing Subcommittee and knows that veterans who need her group's help finding a stable home can often benefit from other things the GWG offers as well.
So you have a veteran, they're not going to touch just one system, and they're never ever going to be, just connected to one service provider. So I think all those individuals being professionals in the room and being able to connect systems is huge.
If a veteran has one problem, he has 5. And what they do is they will put someone with a service that can help that veteran, but they also help them with the other problems they have.
I get to interact with people that I would never normally get to interact with because of the Governor's Working Group. I get to have conversations and build relationships with people that help me as a local nonprofit, and then I get to learn from them and how to better serve our veteran community because of those meetings.
Join the group, the Governor's Working Group, and bring your advocacy to the team.
Each and every time, if you ever find yourself where you're challenged, where you're a little bit tired, and you're questioning why you're here, just think about those military families. Think about those who we are been asked to fight for, who don't have a voice. We are their voice.
Hi, I'm Cindy Greenlee. I'm a psychologist and I work at the Durham VA Healthcare System in the Department of Mental and Behavioral Health Services. And today I'm talking about anger management and de-escalation. So what is anger? Anger is an emotion that we all have. However, for some, it can be very frequent or very intense or even harmful. And we recognize that, yeah, it's okay to have emotions. And if it's harmful or frequent or intense, it might be helpful to learn good strategies for managing it. So there are a lot of theories about where anger comes from, but there are 2 common things within these theories. First is that anger doesn't come out of nowhere. There are often some preceding emotions to the anger, which is also an emotion. So the preceding emotions tend to be things like fear or anxiety or frustration, which some people describe as like helplessness, but then also anger, or even feeling attacked or threatened or kind of backed up into a corner. Those are emotions that, when experienced, may lead to anger in the near future for some veterans. So that's preceding emotions. We also know that how we all interpret things can affect how often we experience anger. For example, people can be in the same exact situation, both be driving down the same highway at the same time, and have different experiences of that event. So for one person, they get cut off in traffic and they're honking the horn, cussing and fussing all the way down the road. And they're late to their appointment. They show up, they're out of breath, they're upset with their providers, they're upset at everyone they see for the next half hour or several hours. Whereas someone else could be driving down that same highway, get cut off in traffic, get frustrated, that's normal, but are able to move past it and go to their appointment no problem. So we want you to be mindful of the fact that sometimes how we experience things affects our emotions.
Are starting. Everyone, welcome to the North Carolina Governor's Working Group. Thank you so much, High Point, for hosting us. What a beautiful facility this is, and we are so glad that you could join us here today. At this time, please rise for the presentation of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. How about that wonderful group of young men and women? This meeting is dedicated to the memory of the families and the thousands of North Carolina veterans we have lost to suicide. We will now continue with the Governor's Working Group co-chair updates. First up, the Secretary for the North Carolina Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Mr. Walter Gaskin.
Give everybody a chance to move out to your seats. First of all, again, let me extend the hearty welcome and thank you to what we have achieved in reaching this point. We are on the verge of finally connecting the dots of what it means to actually provide and help those that so valiantly served us. And to look in, because we have these subcommittees on the 7 determinants of health, we can now connect those dots. Thank you for being here. I look forward to the discussion. This is an excellent venue for providing that help, and we look forward to the committee. Thank you very much for being here.
And before we move on with the rest of our co-chairs, I'm going to ask Mr. Davis, would you come up and introduce your speakers, and they're going to welcome us to High Point.
Good afternoon, and ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to High Point. So I have to ask, how many of you, this is your first time in the furniture capital of the world? Can I see a show of hands? Where have you people been? We are so delighted that you're here. My name is Patrick Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Heroes Center here in High Point. We are the local 501c3 that connects veterans to resources. We're a partner organization with Veterans Bridge Home. All Barry's here, and we are a referring organization out to a lot of our partners that are here in this room. I don't know if you got into the vendor space or not, but wow, that's some good energy. There's some great work collaborative work that's going on. What we're doing in High Point, we recently hosted the Veteran Benefit Live event for the first time. And Chris and Edison, Chris, where are you? Chris asked me, said, Patrick, what was it like? I said, absolutely life-changing. Ladies and gentlemen, we served 549 veterans with their benefits. Wow. Secretary Gaskin, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. All of us together making a difference in our community. And at this time, I'd like to introduce one of our partners here, Vice President for Business High Point Chamber of Commerce, Brian Norris. And they own this campus. So welcome, Brian. We're partnered together with High Point Veterans Initiative.
Hey, good afternoon. Again, thanks so much for being here at Congdon Yards. Glad to have everyone here as a hub for learning and for growth today. I want to welcome you to Congdon Yards. This was opened in 2021 as formerly a hosiery mill, Plant 7 of Adams Millis Hosiery Mill. This produced over 30 million pairs of socks during World War II. So obviously tied to military there. Wanted to let you know this is the hub of reactivity in High Point. In the 2 years, we've now got 47 tenants and over 400 people working on site here. A lot of meetings such as this event here, so we want to welcome you back. Just to give you an idea, it's a gathering place for innovation, celebration, and collaboration. And today we have had over $65 million of investment in this space. And this is a new space for me with veterans work. I've been in the workforce world, but when I met Mr. Davis here and the great work he does with High Point Hero Center, there's not a day goes by we don't work together to think about how we grow High Point around this initiative. So thank you for being here.
Hero Center Board Chairman Victor Jones, also City Councilman, come speak to us on behalf of the city.
Double check and make sure it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victor Jones. I'm with the High Point City Council. I am a founding board member of the Hero Center and been the chairman for 4 years now. So obviously anything veteran related is near and dear to my heart. I served in the Marine Corps for 13 years, served in the war in Iraq in 2003. Our city council and mayor is very committed to making sure that this city, in fact, the whole triad, because we impact all the triad, is as inclusive as a community as possible. And you can't do inclusivity without including our veterans. And so everything that we do at the Hero Center is committed to doing our part for that segment of our society and collaborating with all these nonprofits, VSOs, and other organizations. Together with you guys, we're accomplishing our mission. So half of y'all know me. We see each other at coffee yesterday. We'll see each other again probably tomorrow afternoon for something, who knows. But I appreciate y'all. Welcome to High Point. Enjoy your stay. And if I can do anything for you, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you all for giving us such a warm welcome. All right, next up, the Assistant Secretary for Department of Military and Veterans Affairs here in North Carolina, Mr. Terry Westbrook.
Thank you. Please disregard the picture. I'm not nearly that angry. First off, I want to say thank you to High Point. The Veterans Connection and the city are to me, they're a model of what we're looking for a community connectedness program about how a community embraces their veterans and how the veterans respond to their community. So the VBL success is one picture of that. This event is pictured, by the way, congratulations to us. It's like the biggest turnout we've had in 3 or 4 years. So Dave put this, we kind of worked through, one of the things we talked about was, let's try not to have them all in Raleigh. Let's get out around the state. Let's go around and give other people a chance to show up without having to take all their day. This is obviously the thing we're supposed to do, the way we're supposed to do it. So thank you all for that. I wanted to thank all of our other partners and stuff. We have veteran service organizations, we have government agencies, we have state and county veteran service officers. All of our partners are working together. So I really appreciate the fact that we're all working together. Let's do this. Okay, there we go. So happening, as we see, we're still working with the General Assembly. As if anybody didn't know, the General Assembly hasn't finished their work for 2024 yet. We think we're 3 or 4 weeks from maybe that happening, not exactly sure. Every time you talk to them, it's another week later. So right now, we're just working with them. We're trying to advance our veterans things that we need to advance with them and get some support. As you guys are out there, as you're talking to your local representatives, just keep telling them, veterans community is important. Veterans community is the biggest demographic in the state of North Carolina. It's bigger than the male, it's bigger than the female in the voting world. It's bigger than the minority, it's bigger than anything else. Veterans are the single biggest demographic in the state of North Carolina. So we need to make sure our legislatures are continually reminded to do things that are specifically supportive of improving the veterans' outcomes in North Carolina, both from delivery of service, application of benefits, and all that other stuff. So just a quick up there. We will be working with the Veterans Affairs Commission to schedule their next quarterly conference. We'll let all you guys know when that's coming out. But right now, we're still working with them to get them all organized the way they need to. So we've had 2 conferences since the last time we met. The National Association of State Veterans Homes met in Austin, Texas about 3 weeks ago. That's all 50 states and territory, 50 states, 5 territories, District of Columbia. They represent about 160 state veteran homes, about 30,000 beds nationwide for skilled nursing care. So big deal. We're partnered with the VA, that organization. There's always legislation that has something to do with those guys that has to be dealt with one way or the other. There's always opportunities to improve the program. So we had that annual conference recently, and Secretary Gaskin and I and a couple of other members of his staff were just at the National Association of State Directors of Veterans Affairs last week in Buffalo, New York. Once again, 50 states, 5 territories, District of Columbia. We had 47 of those out of 56. We had 47 actively, physically represented at the conference. A major turnout to get folks all the way from Hawaii and Guam to the Virgin Islands, Maine, and whatever like that. So we had a great turnout. We covered a lot of ground. There's a lot going on at that level that is very much nationally, legislatively oriented. But North Carolina is leading the way with these guys. I'm telling you, North Carolina has many things going on that other people in the United States are trying to emulate. So I encourage all of you, just keep working on that and keep working to make what we do better than what we've done. So when I say multiple construction projects on state veterans homes, we have renovation projects we need to do on our Fayetteville home and our Salisbury home. We have new heating and air conditioning system at our Black Mountain home. So we have a lot of long-term, very expensive renovation projects that we're working on. We're uniquely positioned in the state that we don't need to ask the General Assembly for money to pay for those programs. We have a fund that pays for them, and a lot of you guys over the course of many years had something to do with how that fund actually exists and what's in it. But the main thing is we're going to be busy building and renovating homes and making the homes better for the veterans that are staying in it. I'll cover Kernersville real quickly. Everybody wants to know when Kernersville is going to open. I don't know the answer to that question. What I can tell you is that we have done the work. The construction part's done. We are coordinating with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for final inspections. The Department of Administration, Department of Health Services, there's a lot of people involved, our contractor, our designer. We're just working towards that final inspection that will let us get the certificate of occupancy, get the doors open. We all have veterans that are waiting to be admitted to that home. So we're actively moving to do what we can do to get that open. We talked about NASFA. I won't talk about that then. The Vet Community Resource Network Conference that was just held. Paul Berry attended. Some other people attended. Some folks from Secretary of Staff were there. One of the things the VA is trying to do to reconfigure itself is they're putting more emphasis on the community outreach effects to make the Veterans Health Administration, Veteran Benefit Administration have a better have delivery of their service to a more comprehensive and large network of veterans. The VEO office is really working towards developing that. They're developing concepts of how we do what we're doing right here in this room. This is a Community Veteran Engagement Board event right here. This is how we do it. This is what we've told them works and how they can do it. So they're working to export this nationwide and give people a taste of how to do things to get your community and your veterans connected to make things work better for them. There's also the National Women's Veterans event was just held in Washington, D.C. So as you see, the summertime, as always, is a busy conference time. I will also tell you the National American Legion Conference is being hosted in Charlotte this weekend. It starts tomorrow. So the National Montford Point Marines Convention is being hosted in Jacksonville this weekend. Secretary Gaskin is part of that event. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference is this weekend. Paul Berry's attending that, some other folks. It just doesn't end. This time of the year, everybody's trying to get together. They're trying to develop what their priorities for next year are and all that stuff. So there's a lot going on that every component of that has specific veteran initiatives and military initiatives that we're all working towards helping it. So once again, as you're interacting with people, just be aware there's a lot going on with that. Takeaways, first off, as I said, we've been busy. We're going to continue to be busy. Secretary Gaskin has us all on a short leash. You know, when he tells us to get back on your head, we know what that means. So, and I will not go through the story of what that means. It's not appropriate for us. But a lot of work going on. I sat in on the benefits subcommittee meeting earlier today, sat in on part of it. I know some of you others were involved in different parts. Our subcommittees are becoming very active. They're identifying lots and lots of areas to move forward with the governor's working group as a whole. Secretary Gaskin's vision is get some work done. Find something to work on, get it done, tell us what you need, get it back to us at the governor's working group. We'll take it back and we will work to support what you need to be done. But be innovative, be progressive, be involved, and let's figure out the things that'll make all of our different subcommittee places work. And finally, we talked about community veteran engagement boards a little bit. North Carolina's got 6 right now. You know, my vision is to increase that at least 2 to 3 times. You know, every community of a certain size, and I don't know what that certain size might be, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is, should have a community veterans engagement board as a connectedness between city council, the county commissioners, and the veterans programs, because everybody wants to make this process work better. Lee Tabor out there has got her board out in the Blue Ridge area that's really doing a great job. Patrick here in this area. Paul's got stuff going on in Raleigh. I don't know if hadn't seen Jacksonville here, but you know, there's a lot of opportunity within the Community Veteran Engagement Board spectrum to do something in your community that you would like to do and cover a lot of ground. I know I just covered a lot of ground, guys. I appreciate your attentionness. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting our veterans programs.
Thank you, Terry. So Director Cruz could not be with us today, and so we have, I'm going to say your name wrong. DeCarla Gardner is here with us on his behalf.
Good afternoon, everyone. So really, we've been really, oh, other way. Okay. So really, we've been really busy, really finishing up a lot of things with the PACT Act recently. Earlier this month, your last chance to sign up for the PACT Act and get the year back benefits ended. But that does not mean that, okay. Okay, is this better? I'm sorry, I do apologize. So I'm gonna start back over. So right now, we're still working on the PACT Act. That is really a very important part of our mission right now. It's one of our undersecretary's missions here and throughout all of VA. One thing that what we want you to know is that at the end of the month of September, that is the last chance for our post 9/11 combat veterans to get their chance to enroll in that. And then also just want to let everybody know that the VA is very comparable as far as healthcare across the nation. A lot of people, we get a lot of bad press, but what we don't get to do is talk about all the good things that the VA does and the good healthcare that we do provide to our veterans here in North Carolina and throughout the nation. And then one other thing that I want to talk about is another one of our undersecretary's priorities is Inland homeless veteran. So one thing that we started to do is develop these mobile units where we go out to where the veterans are. And that's one thing that's really important to us is just providing the care where our veterans are. So you'll see us going out and using these mobile units to take care of our homeless veterans, providing them with primary care and other types of care, whether it be women veterans or what have you. But we just want to make sure that we're providing the care to where our veterans are at this time. And I think that's it for me, barring any questions. Thank you.
I do have one quick question. How many of those bands are in North Carolina? Do you know? Okay, not yet. It's coming. That is great. All right, up next is the Director of the Winston-Salem VA Regional Office, Mr. Mark Belos.
Quickly moving off that slide, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Those are bad, Crystal. Good afternoon, everybody. It is great to be here today and talk to you a little bit about some of the things going on in VBA. But before I start, I do want to really just congratulate the folks here in High Point. I'll talk in a little bit about the Veterans Benefit Live event, but yesterday they held a Veterans Coffee downtown here in High Point, and really the first one that they've done, and really a huge success. And I know they're going to be doing it monthly, so really encourage all of you, in the local area to attend that if you have the opportunity to. It was a really great event to get together and discuss things going on. So. But I do want to get started. I want to talk about the PACT Act. That's the big thing that VA is working on, and there's some data here. Since the law was signed, we're right around 1 million PACT Act claims received. That's incredible. A lot of those are here in North Carolina, and a lot of those have been filed due to a lot of the outreach and a lot of the communication that has occurred across the state. Hypertension, allergic rhinitis remains the top two disabilities granted both in North Carolina and around the country. Hypertension, of course, being presumptive due to Agent Orange exposure. I want to remind everybody there's no deadline to file. The date for a potential 1-year retroactive payment, if benefits are granted, was 1 year from when the law was enacted, which was August 10th of this year. There was a little problem with the computer systems where it wasn't working. So that date was extended to the 14th of August of this year. But rest assured that everybody who put something into the system, that has been captured, and everybody is definitely protected. So August 14th is the date. So it doesn't matter when that claim is finally decided. If it was filed before August 14th of this year and benefits are granted, they will go back, potentially go back to the original date the law was signed. So that's That's really important. And there is no deadline to file. That's something that's important. That's a rumor that's been going out around there after the 10th of August, can't file anymore. No, you need to continue to file as you develop disabilities, problems, come and see us in VA or come and see either state or county service officers who can help you significantly with that. That's added a considerable amount of work to VA. 35% more claims came in over the past 12 months than the prior year. That's significant. The backlog has gone up, and the backlog is defined as any claim over 125 days old, so it is taking a little bit longer. I can tell you, though, that a lot of claims have been decided. I think the latest number that I saw was 400,000 or so claims already have been decided, and 79% of those, 4 out of 5, have been, some benefits have been granted. So that's a really great news. VA is working very purposefully to try to make sure we're attacking that claims backlog using a 3-pronged approach that we're calling people, process, and technology. People, a lot of people have been hired. Our office is located in Winston-Salem. We've hired probably, our staff has grown by about 30% over the past year and a half. So that's significant, and that's something that is going to be the fruits of our labor down the road as we continue to do that. We're continuing to hone our processes to make them more simplistic, more easier, and allow us to quickly process claims. And finally, technology. We're using technology, and we're at the beginning stages of this, to allow our claims processors to be able to process claims more efficiently. So instead of having to necessarily search through a whole document that may have hundreds and hundreds of pages, we're using more of a smart search engine to assist us, so we're able to process those claims more quickly. Again, we're in the infancy of this, and I think that things will, I know for sure things will improve as time goes on. Excuse me. I do want to mention, I know a couple folks here, Patrick, Terry have mentioned the Veterans Benefit Live event that we did in High Point about a month ago. And I do want to mention it because it is really, really important. It was probably, we do these all over the state, as you all know, and this was probably one of the most successful events that we've done. And, you know, it was a true partnership with the federal government, the state of North Carolina, the county, and really the city of High Point, and all of their great folks that are really focused on serving veterans. As I think it was said, we served 549 veterans, but we also had veterans come to us from 8 states around the country to get service. So that's really outstanding. 428 total claims received and 249 PACT Act claims received. So that's important. It's just not folks showing up. They're showing up and they're getting something accomplished. We're able to pay $50,000 in retroactive benefits right at the event. So that's significant. Folks leaving knowing, hey, I'm getting a check or I'm getting a direct deposit, and that's significant. Our friends at VHA were there. They did 35 toxic exposure screenings, which is really important. 61 veterans of those 549, 61 of them came to VA to file their claim for the first time. That's significant. 61 folks. If we weren't here and we weren't all working together here, 61 veterans out there might not have been serviced. So that's really significant too. 21 homeless veterans assisted. I know one of our secretary's top priorities is taking care of our homeless veterans and being able to help them. And it's not just financially, it's getting them services, whether it be housing services, food, or the like. And we assisted 26 veterans with military sexual trauma issues. So some very, very important issues that we're able to work through with our veterans. I want to just talk really briefly about appeals. and I'm not going to read all the numbers here, but basically want to give an update on where we are with the appeals. Right now, 34,000 appeals are with the board, and 31,000 are still with VBA, and those are being worked through. Right now, if you have a decision on your claim and your claim is denied and you don't agree with that, you don't have to necessarily appeal it. You can do what's called a higher level review, where somebody else will look at that claim. And we have 44,000 of those. Those are completed in about 72 days. So I know some people are really concerned about the appeals process. You're not giving up any rights. You're really getting a second review of that claim if you disagree with it. And those are getting done awfully quickly. So I really do encourage those of you that have had claims decided that where you don't necessarily agree with something, to talk to somebody, whether it's talk to us in VA, talk to the state or county service officers, and they can help guide you through the process of making sure that that your rights are protected. And that is all that I have. So it's great to be here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. 2 dates I just want to highlight from the 2 previous presentations. September the 30th is the deadline for all post 9/11 combat veterans to enroll in VA healthcare. Not that they can't enroll afterwards, but right now it's expanded eligibility for those individuals. And as Mark said, the PACT Act did not end. There was no deadline for you to file a claim. There was a deadline for a potential retroactive payment. Still file your PACT Act claims with the VSO. Thank you. Next up, I have Ms. Renee Rader with DHHS.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm just noticing that I'm out in left field again today. For those of you who have been here a while, you know that I always miss the mark, but I right now feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. So I'm just very pleased to talk to all of you. I have just a couple of announcements today on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services here in North Carolina. The first is to talk about how North Carolina will become the 40th state to expand Medicaid there we go. Sorry, I got confused because I didn't have this slide. Anyway, we're going to be the 40th state to expand Medicaid. We're very excited about that. That will increase coverage to about 600,000 additional people here in the state of North Carolina. Within the governor's budget, we are so thrilled to see that he had included a pretty large portion, almost $1 billion for behavioral health care services. Of course, we continue to work with the General Assembly. There are no done deals yet, but we are hoping to get a portion of that $1 billion at least to improve mental health services in North Carolina. First of all, to make them more accessible. We know that folks in need of mental health services don't always have them where they need them, when they need them. And so we're going to be using some of those dollars to support those efforts, improve provider rates generally, and make the services more accessible. We also plan to improve our crisis response system. I'll talk a little bit about 988 as I always do in a few minutes, but in addition to 988, we really want to expand our reach to people in crisis, including those who perhaps are having lower level crises or are experiencing a crisis that might land them in the criminal justice system. We would like to take efforts to divert folks and get them the supports and services they need before they enter that system. And then finally, we are hoping to use some of those dollars to improve data and technology. We know that if our data is better, we can better target people who need our services. And we know that when the technology is better, we can also expand our reach to make sure that folks are getting what they need. So we announced a couple of weeks ago that we intend to move forward with Medicaid expansion on October 1st. The Department of Health and Human Services is fully ready to do that. However, if you're watching the news, that is tied up with the North Carolina budget right now. If that does not move forward and we don't have a budget by September 1st, then that will delay our efforts to December 1st. The other thing that could happen is that Medicaid expansion could be taken out of the budget and done as a separate action. There's still hope that that could happen, but otherwise we are ready to go. The next thing I want to talk about is the 1-year anniversary of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline for people who are in a behavioral health crisis. So if you're not familiar with 988, that's the number that you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you're experiencing any type of behavioral health crisis. And that is as defined by you as an individual. It does not have to be people who are in danger of or feeling suicidal. It can be anyone who is experiencing crisis. For veterans particularly, when you call 988, you can call, you're given an option right at the beginning of the call to press 1 if you want to be connected with the veterans crisis line. You can press 2 if you want to be connected with the Spanish-speaking line, and 3 connects youth and young adults with the Trevor Project. We actually do have a number of folks who call 988, choose not to press 1, but as a veteran, but then later identify as a veteran on the crisis call. And so we are looking at that a little bit further and really want to dig into that because we want to make sure that our veterans and military families have the services and supports that are available to them. In the meantime, we are asking the question and we are making resources available to our veterans if they call and choose not to be connected with the Veterans Crisis Line. And then 2 last updates about, I want to say 2 months ago now, we issued an RFA for a peer warm line, and that's intended to be complementary with our 988 system. So if you are in crisis or just want to talk to somebody or just have a behavioral health need, we are standing up a warm line where you can call and talk to a peer. So somebody who has lived experience with mental illness, substance use disorder, and have that conversation at that level. We have awarded that grant to Promise Resource Network. They're one of our largest peer-run organizations here in North Carolina, so we're very excited about that. We are working to get those dollars out now and hope that that will be up and running by late fall. And the last update I have is the tailored plan launch. So for those of you who are following the behavioral health system in North Carolina with Medicaid and state funded services, the tailored plans are going to be the managed care organizations that are going to replace the LME-MCO system. They were scheduled to go live on October 1st, but that start date has been delayed. There is no updated date at this point. We don't know when the go live date will be, but there were a couple of key areas that we thought the soon to be tailored plans needed to improve upon. And that was first and foremost, making sure that everybody continued to receive the services that they had been receiving. We didn't want people to have to change providers. We didn't want a situation where someone's doctor was out of network. And so we wanted to make sure that we gave the extra time and attention to keeping people enrolled in the services that they have. The other thing that and I forgot to move my slide forward. The other thing that we were concerned about is technology, and we wanted to make sure that their technology capabilities were able to match the state so that we could communicate electronically in the way that we need to when supporting that many individuals in the behavioral health system. And that is all of my updates.
Thank you, Renee. And up next is Ms. Gabriela Gonzalez with NC Commerce.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So I am going to talk a little bit about the Division of Workforce Solutions and the Career Centers and what's been going on. And I have to echo Mark's sentiment that collaborations are very important because as we work together and that veteran walks into one point of entry, we hope that we can assist that veteran adequately and move them on to the next point of entry to get that assistance needed. So with that said, I just did an overview here of what we do as the Vision of Workforce Solutions. It's just a little repeat of what we do as a career center. We have 100 counties and we have about 80 career centers throughout. And what we have done so far, we have served 16,000 veterans for the program year of July 1 through this year of June. So it has increased 2,000 veterans. Also, 71% use NC Works that are part of the programs. So NC Works has become a very important piece of networking and collaboration with everyone to assist veterans and non-veterans in their employment needs. And also, with that said, when we have veterans transitioning military service members and spouses, we have the Hilton Honors Program. I just want to emphasize that again. It is very important, especially when they come back to North Carolina and have job interviews, meetings, searching for housing, all this good stuff, that they can apply for the Hilton Honors. We're here to assist. They can get up to 100,000 points to stay in the hotel and do what they need to do to come back to North Carolina. So we have, each year the referrals have increased. We have noticed that more and more transitioning service members, even from Japan, Germany, overseas, come back and choose a certain area that they want to stay in. So it's been really successful, so I want you to know about it. If you want to just relay that to somebody that can benefit from it, feel free to do so. We're here to help. So again, the military branch, we have divided it by reason for referral. Mostly it's job interviews, followed by housing and some other criteria, which I cannot see on this, and I apologize. So I hope you can kind of look at this. But this is a very important program, and we continue to serve those that are interested. In general, the overall data for nationwide, and this is from NASWA, the Hilton Honors Program, is, again, housing search is number one, followed by job search, job training, and job interviews. So, of course, a high number of those referrals are transitioning service members. So I wanted to point that out as well. This is a very successful program. And that's it for me. Thank you.
It is tough to see on this tiny screen up here. It's okay. Anyone who wants those, these slides, they will be posted at ncgwg.org. So you can look back at any of the data and everything. Right now, the Housing Subcommittee is going to give an update. Mr. Michael Bressler, where are you at? Health and Wellness.
Yeah. It's on. Hi, I'm Mikhail Bressler, just spelled differently. No, actually, I'm Michael Bressler. I'm the subcommittee chair for the Governor's Working Group for the Health and Wellness and Equity. I can't get over the fact that they got my name wrong. It's all good. So I just wanted to bring up our mission statement here. I thought it'd be important to bring up. Subcommittee goal or mission is to build, support, and strengthen communities, identify barriers and gaps, and foster collaboration to promote health and wellness for all veterans, service members, and their families in North Carolina. Wanted to make sure that we brought in the word all veterans and family members and service members because, you know, as people who work in equity and health and wellness, we want to ensure that we're taking care of all of the veteran population and their families as well. If you look on the bottom, I have the multi-level socio-ecological model. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but our subcommittee kind of takes a different approach to veteran health. A lot of veteran health is based on clinical care. It's, you know, connection to different benefits. We're looking at really a public health approach. We don't approach veteran health at the individual level. We like to look at it more at the population level. So what does the veteran population as a whole look like in North Carolina? What do the numbers tell us? Well, one thing I'd like to bring up is that the current data suggests that about 60% of veterans in North Carolina are not enrolled in VA healthcare. That's a very large number. It's estimated anywhere between 700,000 and 800,000 veterans in North Carolina. So if we took a rough estimate, that would mean that about 480,000 veterans in North Carolina are not accessing or they're not reaching out for benefits. So one of the big things we can do is promote that information. We make sure we get that information out there. As a public health approach, we look at this socio-ecological model. We think from the individual level, the interpersonal level, organizational level, community level, and societal level. Very briefly, interpersonal is the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that individual and veterans have. Interpersonal is a relationship with veterans and their family members. Organizational, we're looking at different work culture, academic culture, things that are once removed from the family that veterans are connected to. Okay. Community level, thinking even bigger than that. We're starting to look at, you know, in different counties, what kind of access to care do they have, health care? We can compare rural communities versus urban communities. We can start looking at risk and protective factors related to those different communities that allow people to see, you know, what are the differences between these communities? What are the protective factors? What are some of the strengths that we have in the veteran space that will allow us to thrive in these communities? And then we got societal level. A lot of people in this room are involved in the policy level. So we have a lot of different things that happen at the policy level that affect individual veterans and the veteran population as well. What's happening now in the subcommittee? We're understanding the community factors that contribute to veteran health and well-being. We're identifying existing community resources that benefit veterans and their families and where gaps exist. We're improving communication and collaboration between community stakeholders in ways that support veterans, recognizing community successes and the myriad of ways that addressing veterans' well-being benefits entire communities, and then finally, ensuring transparency, sustainability, and scalability of this community-based model. One project that I do work on is called the Building Veteran Healthy Community Project, and I like to talk about this a lot because it's an awesome project to get involved in. And we're looking at these community risk and protective factors. I'd like to take a minute to mention this slide. I want to talk through the different types of prevention that we have. So starting at tertiary prevention, this is urgent care services in the state of North Carolina. If a veteran calls the crisis line, that's tertiary prevention. If a veteran is hospitalized for a mental health condition, that's tertiary prevention. Secondary prevention is what's happening in communities that prevent people to getting to that cliff. So we're looking at things like clinical social workers helping people with evidence-based treatments or psychotherapy to help them, you know, complete some goals so they stay away from that cliff. Tying veterans to different community partners. So it's kind of like that safety web. And I think that in general, we do a pretty decent, you know, job in the secondary and tertiary space. Where we work in this project is in that tertiary, or I'm sorry, that primary space. We're looking far upstream. We're looking at the social determinants of health, things like We pull up the vital conditions wheel here. This is from the Ripple Foundation, but you have basic needs for health and safety, lifelong learning, meaningful work and health and wealth, humane housing, thriving natural world, reliable transport. We look at all these different factors and we're trying to come up with a toolkit to be able to hand over to communities to allow them to provide not only services to veterans, but to provide healthy communities for veterans to thrive. So, you know, easier access to care. People know about the Mission Act, the Compact Act, the PACT Act. They're getting all that information out there. We're also looking at like things like veterans homelessness, you know, providing sustainable housing for people instead of just crisis services. Oops. So on the slide, you'll see I'm not going to go over all of them, but these are some of the identified risk and protective factors that we're able to identify. I like to start with the protective factors because I think that it's important to build on the things that are working in the communities and then kind of leverage those to start working on the other parts. So obviously protective factors, eligibility for VA services is in the regional, national, and global systems, living and working conditions, educational environments with veteran-specific programming. UNC just launched where they can now take military credit to include it in their academic program. That's huge. They have student veteran organizations, you know, for veteran culture. That's huge. If we can provide those kinds of environments, not only for academic institutions, but for other community institutions, then we're going to uplift veterans and veterans are going to feel better in their communities. Our next steps, what we're looking to do is continue to engage with community partners and members and key stakeholders by bringing them to in-person events. I'll be discussing one of those events shortly. Determining the protective and risk factors that we've identified and are accurate depiction of what is happening in the communities where veterans and their families live. And then finally, connect with other community partners who have access to data streams that allow us to better understand the 60% of veterans in North Carolina who are not enrolled. So a few acknowledgements on this. I'm not going to read through them all. I will say that if you're interested more about the Building Veteran Healthy Project, you can scan that QR code and I'll bring it to our website. Additionally, I have Daniel Reyes. Daniel, can you stand up? He's our outreach coordinator for the project. So if you want to get more information after this presentation, he'll be available to answer questions, as will I.
So one of the questions I have is that as you develop this information, have you developed a pathway to share that information with people that can action it? For instance, the VA healthcare network or whatever.
Yeah, that's so this is a 2-year project. We're right at 1 year and 2 months. We're holding an event on October 12th, and that event is going to be bringing people together to collaborate. We expect to have a toolkit, which is what you're talking about, available probably 6 to 8 months from now. And that will be generic enough so that we can hand it to community partners. They can look through it and they can identify ways to help connect veterans in their communities.
And on the other side of the fence, you're developing data and you're collecting data, and you know, 60% of veterans aren't enrolled in this and another. Those are the kinds of things that we need to make sure that Paul Cruz with the Business 6 is like, here's a focus area. Here's an area right here that we know we need to focus the delivery of VA healthcare on these 10 communities because they're not meeting things. So as we develop that data, we also need to make sure we develop the distribution of that data to people that will take action with it.
Right. So Paul Cruz, yeah, he was the medical center director of the Durham VA Medical Center. That's why I hired for this project, was because he was the brainchild of the entire thing. And he's continuing to be an advocate for that. And he's very informed about what's happening. Our viewpoint is to take the stress off of the VA. We want to ensure that we give communities the capacity that they need to care for the veterans and to ensure that they're the ones that are able to create these healthy working and living conditions if that makes sense. So please scan the QR code if you like. If you want to email me, it's Michael Bressler, spelled correctly, at va.gov. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to transition to our expert panel. Dave, would you like to introduce all of the panel participants?
All right. Hey, if we could go ahead and have our panelists come on up. Chris, if you want to come on up, yeah, you just pass that one. We have Mike Bressler, who hopefully we've spelled Mike correctly this time around. Apologies for that. Again, working with the Building Veteran Healthy Communities Project. Sitting in for Scott Garlow, who could not make it today, is our basically jack of all trades, Crystal Miller, who can speak to not only her role as a facilitator, but also work with Mecklenburg County Veteran Services. And finally, Chris Warguez. Sorry, am I pronouncing that correctly? Excellent. Now I wish I didn't ask. From the Department of Veteran Affairs, the regional office here in Winston-Salem. And so if you would, we'll just go ahead. We have that microphone right there. Go ahead. Yeah. One moment, Crystal's just grabbing her list of questions. Talk amongst yourselves. Kidding. So while we do have a second, I just wanted to say, once again, thank you so much. This is an amazing turnout. Thank you very much to our local partners, Patrick Davis here in High Point, who have really, invested a lot of time, talent, and treasure into putting this on for us today. So with that said, I will hand it on over to Crystal Miller.
All right, thank you so much. I am Crystal Miller. I'm the Veteran Services Supervisor for Mecklenburg County Veteran Services. Y'all, I did not think that pink was red. This is the only reading lessons I had in the car. I promise I'm not that bad. So to clear that up. So I'm going to start with Mr. Warguez. That is okay with you, sir. And ask, could you provide insight into the key benefits and resources that veterans are entitled to through the Veterans Benefits Administration, and how does the VBA ensure these benefits are accessible to all eligible veterans?
All right, thank you for the question. That is a great question. VBA covers a wide range of benefits, but our friends that are really disability compensation for those veterans that serve in the military and are involved in their service, there's some sort of disability that's ongoing, chronic by nature. Now, the other is vocational rehabilitation and employment. So a veteran that is service-connected, maybe can't do the job anymore because he hurt his right wrist in the military, now needs a new vocation. We work with that veteran to put it into a new job. And we educate, give education, and help with employment. The other part is education. A lot of you know about the post-9/11 GI Bill, the Forever GI Bill, and those benefits. But we also have VA home loan and a wide list of ancillary benefits, and all of those listed are in the va.gov website. Now, when you ask about access to care and access to benefits, there are a number of ways to get hold of us. One thing we've been working on in the past year was access to VA. And you can do it through the va.gov website. It's really the best way. You go to our website, it's a one-stop shop for everything VA related. Not only the benefit side, but the healthcare side, the cemetery side, and also Vet Center and other services that I did mention. And through there, you can submit your claim online, which is much nicer because instead of mailing it to us, where we have to ship it, receive it, scan it into the system. That takes a lot more days. But if you submit your claim online, it's instantaneous. You get a receipt for it, and then on the other end, we can see your claim right away. And so really, it is the best way to submit it and really the quickest way. There are a number of other ways to access us. We do have our Winston-Salem regional office in downtown Winston-Salem. We do offer free parking now, and so a lot of folks would never come to downtown Winston because it is difficult to find parking, but the parking garage is directly across from the federal building. We do validate parking, no matter how long you are there to see us, or maybe for a hearing, working with one of our reps. You could also reach us virtually. You can do a virtual appointment where you schedule an appointment with one of our Winston-Salem employees, and we call you back at a time of your choice. You could also schedule schedule an appointment with us. And so if you know you've got your lunch break, you've got a short amount of time, you want to come in at noon, you can schedule an appointment with our Winston office, and you can be seen right away when you arrive at noon. We're also in person at the Kernersville Healthcare Center. We are there 2 days a week. So if you want to see one of our VA reps in Kernersville, you can always just call the Kernersville Healthcare Center and they can help you schedule an appointment. We also offer a VA telebenefits program through the Greenville Healthcare Center. So another big initiative we had in the past year was trying to get out into the rural communities, and one of them was to work closely with Greenville and our Durham partners. And what they did is they had a telebenefits room in Greenville. So when you go to that healthcare center there, you can schedule an appointment with one of our reps, and you meet with us virtually. It's face-to-face. We have printed forms there, self-addressed stamped envelopes there. You can file a claim. One of the medical support assistants there in Greenville can help you submit it. We're also actually located out in the various DOE installations. We are at Camp Lejeune with our intake site. You can see us there in person, also make an appointment. We also support Cherry Point and New River, those locations. And we're also at Fort Liberty, where we support both Seymour Air Force bases down at Fort Liberty. And we're there, both of those offices, Monday through Friday. And then, of course, we also work very, very closely with our state and county service officers. And they're the ones that represent the 100 counties out there in North Carolina. And they're really our brothers and sisters out there who help our veterans out in the communities to get access to us, because they are really the experts out in the field and are in pretty much every county in the state of North Carolina. Thank you.
Before Chris moves on, could you talk a little bit more about the relationship between the county and state veteran service officers and your office? Specifically things like if a county service officer needs something but they don't understand, do they have direct contact with you? What do they have access to that your guy on the street might not have access to?
That's a great question. I think across the entire nation, we have one of the best partnerships with our state and county service officers. We are in regular collaboration almost daily, not with Crystal, with one of the counties. And then we also do a monthly call every single month where we bring up hot topics, education, answer your questions. People out in the field that are wondering about benefits, they work with the county service officers. And we do a monthly call where we have it a virtual open house. Folks will come in and ask questions, they'll pop off, they'll come back on. If they get bored of me talking, and then they'll ask very specific questions about veterans' unique situations in their area. So really that collaboration has been key for the veterans in the state of North Carolina, which is really the reason why we've been able to increase the number of veterans that actually use VA. I think it was about 6 years ago, 25% of veterans use benefits, and now we're at 40%. And so through that partnership, we really were able to change lives for a lot of our veterans. Thank you.
All right, I will piggyback on that with the question that was set aside for Ms. Garlow. Can you share some insights into the specific challenges veterans in your county commonly face when it comes to accessing benefits and resources, and how your office addresses these challenges? So obviously in a county veteran service office, and if all my VSOs in the room raise your hand, I have several VSOs in the room, so they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So Mecklenburg County is a very hopping metropolis. So we have access to a lot of resources. We have access to transportation. Are we solving all the transportation problems? No, but we have really good access to public transportation. We have access to our facilities, our VA partners, but I think in some of the smaller counties, and Lee Tabers here from Macon County would agree, transportation in those counties is failing our veterans. And so I know the VHA side is really looking at how they can help those rural veterans get to the facilities that they need. And one of our other big challenges, I would say, on the county level is marketing our services. How do we market our services? Thank goodness the PACT Act was a great marketing tool for all of us. I know that our veterans coming in to apply for eligibility for health care and for disability almost doubled this year. It was just insane. And they're still coming. They do not believe that there was a deadline, and they're still coming to see us and file those PACT Act claims. I guess the other challenge, especially in some of the smaller counties, is just personnel and having the personnel to be subcommittee meeting. We are going to have access to transition data, hopefully within the next 6 to 8 months, and we will be able to begin to capture those individuals who are transitioning into our county, because we don't know when they come. One of my biggest personal challenges is seeing these veterans get stopped by the predatory claims agents who are charging them to file for their benefits. And we are free. Veterans service officers in the state and county are free. We offer free services. We're highly educated and highly motivated to help serve you. So that's my spill on that. Any questions?
Well, I want to piggyback on what you said. I'm just saying, if you can talk.
Yeah, they can't hear you.
They can't hear me. Well, fortunately, I don't care what they don't say. One of the things I really want to emphasize is how much different North Carolina is Onslow County, not nearly as developed. And then you go up into northeast corner, Northampton, and some of those. You know, we have counties in North Carolina that have 0 county service officers, about 7 or 8. We have counties in North Carolina that the veteran service officer, there's 1, and they're part-time. Another 7 or 8, something like that. And then we have counties that they start stepping up from there. Like I said, we get to Mecklenburg, we get to Wake County that's got a few, we get to Durham County that's got a few, you know, the bigger counties with the bigger metropolitan areas. So the difference between our delivery of veteran services in our rural counties and our delivery of veteran services in our urban counties is significant. And, you know, our regional managers, state offices, all of us recognize that's an issue. And the reason I wanted to really bring it up and bring up what she's talking about is the state wants to make sure that we're delivering veteran services to every veteran at their place. We don't want a veteran that lives in Washington County to have to drive to Asheville to get veteran services. We want them to get it right where they're at. This is very important, Secretary Gaskin. This is like a high priority on his list of working with the General Assembly about how we're going to do that. This is one of those areas where every one of us is needed to help develop that narrative and develop the narrative of it's not just, you know, it's not just 1 to 4,700 veterans in the state. It is Mecklenburg County has a good ratio with theirs. They have 15 or so veteran service officers.
We're still 1 to 5,000.
Yeah, something like that. But Lee is Lee. You know, and Lee's out there with her veterans, however many are in her county, and she's got that. So We're really working hard because we recognize that in order for veteran services, it's not just that the benefits are there. In order to get them, in order for that to be an important piece of information, the veteran that needs that service has to know about it. And until we get the ability to do that for them, we're in North Carolina further and escalating ourselves. We're just kind of stagnating. So I really want to emphasize to all of you how important the concept of veteran service officers and what we do with them and how we utilize them and the outreach they perform and the advocacy that they've learned through experience, all those things, that's what we need to grow in the state. It's not going to just, it's not something that being stagnant where we're at now is not going to improve our situation. We've got to make that program be better to be able to do it.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Bressler. In your research, what are some of the common barriers that veterans face in accessing benefits and services, and how do these barriers contribute to more severe challenges down the road?
Yes, thanks for asking that question. There were some factors during my presentation, but what I'd like to do here is cite maybe specific examples so that I can kind of demonstrate how these things play out in the communities. So, one big community challenge that we have that's related to public health is, related to information. One of the, this is going to come as a no surprise to anybody in this room, but communication between or from the policy level down to the veteran level is pretty broken somewhere. Things like the Compact Act, the Mission Act, the PACT Act, that information trickles down and it gets individual veterans, but it doesn't get there that fast. I want to pick the, let's say the Compact Act, for example. That opened up a veterans crisis, or veterans that are in crisis, having suicide ideation, and they can get care at service providers or ERs, and they can get up to 30 days of inpatient psychiatric care. They can get up to 90 days of outpatient treatment related to that suicide crisis, but there are stipulations to that. And you got to look at those stipulations to better understand it. For example, it's the 24 consecutive months. That's how you become eligible. Or if you're service connected for a disability, or if you experienced sexual harassment or MST while you're on active duty. These are some stipulations that we got to look at and make sure that community providers are educated about these things. If you, something Chris mentioned was the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program. If you were to mention that to any individual veteran, how many veterans do we have in this room right now? You ready? Thank you. How many of y'all know about Veteran Readiness and Employment? Few less, I'd say maybe 50%. So the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program is a program that's separate from the GI Bill, and it's for people with service-connected disability, and they can get things like job training, they can go to school, they can get degrees. I utilized that to get my master's degree from UNC, but it's kind of like an unknown program. It was something that was put in a policy, but individual veterans don't know about this. Property tax entitlement. How many know about that? A good number, but definitely not everybody in the room. This is another benefit that people are not aware of that comes from the policy level that should be dispersed at the community level, and veterans should know about these things, and that's something that we've run into. Now, if veterans aren't informed about the benefits that they're entitled to, which seems to be the case, it could lead to poor outcomes. And poor outcomes could be things like, let's say, for example, a veteran walks into an urgent care clinic. They go to that urgent care clinic, and the urgent care clinic doesn't know they need to put an authorization code to the VA. Veteran gets billed. Veteran gets upset, frustrated, and then they don't know where to turn. They can't call Optum Health. They don't know what Optum Health is because Optum Health are the ones that actually take care of the bill. So they call the VA, 72-hour notification. They're like, oh, that's a separate thing. You need to call this number. You get them in a runaround, and they're already frustrated. It creates frustration. They're less likely to reach out for care. If they're less likely to reach out for care, they're going to wait too long. They're going to start developing things like hopelessness or suicide or depression. It all rolls downhill. And it was all due to the fact that we did not deliver that information to those community partners. So we need to be better in that front. To prevent things like veteran suicide or to decrease things like mental illness, veterans need to know what they're entitled to. They need to be connected to those benefits. And it's everyone's job and everyone's duty to ensure that veterans have that information.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Misinformation is real. So we have a lot of veterans come in and tell us what they heard down at the barber shop, and that misinformation causes a lot of hurt feelings sometimes. All right, Mr. Borges, you kind of answered this one already, given the scale of Veterans Benefits Administration operations. What strategies are in place to streamline the application and approval processes for veterans, ensuring timely access to benefits?
That's a great question. I'm just going to expand off what Michael was saying. A key part of that is information sharing. And this is why we're here today. That will definitely streamline the process. There's a lot of ambiguity with what we do. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of rumor. Actually, was at a conference last week and with VA employees, contract procurement specialists. One guy asked me about the PACT Act, and he said, I only have one more day to file. And he's a VA employee, and he thought he meant one more day to file. So even in our own house, we have some work to do, but that's really going to be key because there is a lot of misinformation out there. And what's important is to work with us directly at the VA. As I mentioned, there are multitude of ways to get hold of us, but again, working with the county level. I tend to encourage our veterans to work with our county and state service officers because they're the ones out in their communities. They're the ones that they can relate with. Or state officer or regular VSO or us at the regional office, we'll tell it like it is. We're not there to give any fluff, and we're there to answer your questions, and we're there to get you straight from A to B as quickly as possible. And so, there are some predatory claims agents out there. I don't know if there are any lawyers that are here, but VA is free. Our state and county service officers are free. And we do it because we love what we do. And so come visit us. That's really the best way to do it. Online submission is also the best way to submit, as I mentioned before, because when you follow the online submission, there's certain prompts that you must follow to make sure when you submit that claim. If you do a paper form, oftentimes information is forgotten, it's hard to read, and we have to have another set of eyes look at it, which may potentially delay that claim. So again, working with your service officer, working with us, the VA, and then doing the online submission is really the best way. As Mark mentioned earlier, there are different automated decision tools and ways to improve that process, part of that people process technology. And as a department, we are working on that. But to collaborate and share information is really within our hands here, and it's really what's needed to help our veterans.
All right, I'll take the next question. What innovative strategies has your county implemented to ensure that veterans have a smooth transition back into civilian life and are well connected to the benefits that they are entitled to? So again, Mecklenburg County is very unique in its ability to address a lot of needs at one time. So we have just tomorrow, we'll have a soft opening of a community resource center that the county built in order to offer those wraparound services. So I have 3 VSOs in that location. If a veteran comes in and they need information on employment, we can do that right there. If they need food, we have a food pantry right there. We have food stamps, we have Medicaid, we have children's services, DHHS, Department of Public Health, all in one location. So it's a beautiful facility, and it is something that I know Mecklenburg County is very proud to see open. That is it's not that easy in all counties because other counties don't have the means to address all of those other needs that veterans come in. So
when they transition and they need a job, I would say Lee Taylor picks up the phone and calls her NC Workforce representative in the area. We have the Unitas platform through Veterans Bridge Home. We have very good partnerships across the state, but I would say transitions normally in Mecklenburg we have more to offer. We have more jobs. We do have more housing. It's not more affordable housing, but we do have more housing options. So I can't compare what we do to what the rest of the state does. It's just an unfair comparison. But by working with Unitas, which is also partnered with NC Care 360, we have a lot of resources available to us. What we hope to do with the benefits subcommittee and what we discussed this morning is just looking at pushing our agenda to the legislature, to the General Assembly legislators. We want people to reach out because we need to be able to identify those gaps in services and we need to fill them. Transportation, I'll keep going back to that. When the brand new Jones County VSO contacted me this week and I shouted out to several different people at Veterans Bridge Home, and I mean, their veterans are struggling to get to their care. That's not okay. That is just not okay. Again, we're doing great. I feel like in Mecklenburg County, I don't want to keep blowing our own horn, but we just have the resources. It's not because we're better at putting things together. We have the resources that other counties just do not have, and we really have got to pinpoint those issues so we can address them head on. Next one I have for you, Mr. Bressler. How can evidence-based research inform the design of interventions and programs that effectively connect veterans to benefits, ultimately preventing issues like suicide and homelessness?
I came here with a response to this, but a more organic conversation. I've got a pretty good example of looking at research and determining what interventions would be helpful. When we look at research, the gold standard we're looking for is like systematic reviews. Below systematic reviews, we have double-blind randomized control trials. Randomized control trials, below that one, and then we have operational studies, longitudinal studies, and then finally case studies below that. So that's one of the approaches that we've taken with our project. We've been able to identify the risk and protective factors. But let's speak about a social determinant of health that's specific to veterans. Veteran service era. We have veterans who are Vietnam veterans, and we have veterans in between OAF, OEF, and then OAF, OEF veterans. We know though that OAF, OEF veterans make up the vast majority of veterans in our country. Vietnam veterans have long deserved to be helped. It seems like when they first got out, things weren't looking good in the community. They were spit on, they weren't taken care of, they had trouble accessing benefits, it was a nightmare. And that's a vulnerable population that we need to continue to look at and continue to take care of. If we look at the research, we know that about 30% of veterans live in rural communities. Of that 30% that live in there, the majority of people are older than 65 years old. So that would state that, a good majority of Vietnam veterans live in rural communities. And they're not really connected to veterans in those rural communities. Chris hit the nail on the head. He was talking about veteran service officers being the backbone of connecting veterans to care. Veteran service officers that live in Mecklenburg County have easier connection to find veterans. But people live in, I think Terry West brought it up, was like Onslow County. It's a lot harder to be connected to benefits there. You look at more rural communities, it's more difficult. So increasing access to allow veterans who are already a vulnerable population, you know, the Vietnam veterans, increasing access to them to get their benefits is crucial. We also know by looking at the data that people that live in rural communities, veterans specifically, are 20% higher risk of suicide than those that live in urban communities. That's huge. Suicide is predominantly males complete more suicides than females do. They use more lethal means. If we look at data regarding gun safety or utilization of firearms regarding to suicidality, we know that 50% are used, 50% of suicides are completed by firearm. You know, ad campaigns that are directing veterans to let them know that it's okay. And I'm not trying to say take guns away. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're in a suicidal crisis, the best thing that you can do is remove that lethal means away from you. And you know, once that's over, they take it back. It's fine. And I don't think anybody wants to take the guns away, but it's veterans need to understand that that's a real risk factor, is having a firearm in a household when you're at suicidal risk. And it's just important to notate that. It's no different between, you know, OIF, ODF veterans or veterans that are in Vietnam or other service areas.
That was a wonderful answer. We talked about that this morning as well on the Vietnam veterans. You know, they're retiring out of, they're retiring. They thought that they did well in their lives, but they did not need to, you know, do anything else. They need to come to see the VA because they did well for themselves. And they don't even know what a veteran service officer is, so yeah, it's important that we reach that area. All right, Mr. Wargas, I'm going to skip down to the bottom. As a Deputy Division Chief, can you share examples of success stories where connecting veterans to benefits directly contributed to preventing larger issues such as homelessness and mental health crisis?
That's a great question. It's one of the, actually my favorite questions, because it's one that we could really celebrate some of the collaboration that we have here as a group, and specifically these veteran benefit live events that we do have. We had the one here at High Point, and the one before that we had in Cary, and that was the one that I helped facilitate as well. But I did meet with a homeless veteran who had a pending claim for traumatic brain injury. He also had a multitude of other conditions, including mental health. He has filed his claim about 3 weeks prior, so in the world of VA, it really wasn't that old. But obviously, he came to us, he was in a dire situation. Through our conversation, we found out he was homeless, he was living in his car with his dog, and he had literally no place to go. And he was with us. So when he came to us, we looked at his claim, and we were able to go through his medical records and dig a little deeper by asking him certain questions, which a lot of times you don't get when you're just calling that 1-800 number. But by seeing us at this clinic, we were able to answer some of the stressor conditions that he had for his mental health, his condition. And at that event, we went from moving from having a pending claim to handing it off to a rating specialist at that site, who made a decision within 30 minutes, and then passing it off to the next person to complete the award, and then 3 hours later, push that button to begin the process to electronically deposit 100% service connection for this veteran. The retroactive was about it was about 3,000 something because the claim wasn't that old, but his ongoing payments was about 3,500. It also gave him a higher priority level for DHA healthcare treatment. It also gave them dependents education allowance, which is separate than your GI Bill. It also obviously gave him entitlement to veterans readiness and employment. And he also had some other physical conditions that might enable him to special adaptive housing, or maybe the HISA grant or vehicle adapted benefits. And so it was really a good news story. But the part of it was, how do we get him housed? Because yes, we were able to grant the benefit, and it was really working with Paul Berry and the Veterans Bridge Home, who was able to make calls and get housing for that veteran all in the same day.
Wow.
Amazing. He waited 5-6 hours. because we really put him in the right path forward. Once he was in the system, he has his health care. He could receive his mental health treatment. He could get connected with the vet center, who we did get him connected with on that day. And so really a full round of services and a one-stop shop. And that was really just one example that we have many on that day, and also here at the High Point, which results in that $50,000 in retroactive benefits that we paid during that event. So really life-changing, quality of life improvement for these veterans, and these are folks that are in our community. So really a win-win.
And I'm going to wrap it up just very quickly. Most of the rest of the questions were about collaboration and partnership, and that is what it's all about. But I do not want anyone to forget our rural counties in North Carolina, because they just don't have the same resources. Unless they're willing to give up their hometown and come down to Charlotte. I mean, and even Charlotte doesn't have transitional housing. There is no transitional housing. You're either homeless and on the streets, or we can house you, or we can shelter you in a shelter. And that's not the right answer. That's not an okay answer. So please don't forget our rural neighbors. Allegany's here, Macon's here, I'm not forgetting anybody else. Jeremy's from up in western North Carolina, Haywood County. And Barry West is here from Winston-Salem, the Clemens Veteran Service Center. So it's good to see all the VSOs here. Please do reach out to your local VSO at www.millvets.nc.gov under benefits and services, or you can go to NC for Vets, and there's a map. You can go there and click on that map. There's also an interactive legislative map. If you don't know who your representative is in the House, Congress, Senators, please go on there and find out who they are. Go to their webpage, send them a note, and I see someone in the back with a question. Come on up. And I just want you to know I did that for my representative. I won't tell you who it was, but on their little drop-down menu, veterans was not an option. So that was my email to him, was that veterans was not an option on his drop-down menu, and I needed him to correct that. So, and we have Mr. Jeff Smith here, who's going to say a word before we close.
I was wondering in your examination of things that get in the way of benefits being issued smoothly, that a well-paid, well-trained, motivated VSO staff, each one of you just said how important that is to the process. Is anyone speaking about legislators, if anyone's talking to them soon, about how veteran service officers are paid compared to the rest of folks? Absolutely.
So I'm going to let Mr. Gaskin. You go ahead and stand up.
I'll just stand up here and as you pretty well know that I'm a person of action. I don't believe in just talking about it. I believe in doing something about it. And so what you heard is the issue. When they get out of service, they go to the bank to draw their benefits, their money, and there are no tellers. There's no teller to tell them what form they need to do in order to get the benefit. There's no teller to say to them that this is how you do VA math. They don't have them to tell them what benefits that are specific to that state. Here's the problem in North Carolina. We have 150 veteran service officers retired in the state. 28 belongs to the state. 110 belongs to the counties. And about 6 or 7 belong to the big 6. VFWs, American Legion, DAB, AMVET, etc. But the first thing that we had to do is remove that boundary between veteran service officers. A veteran service officer, regardless of where they're located, should be the same educated, should be the same pay, and I know we'll talk about that one in a minute, and should be having access. When we say that there are 1 to 4,700 veteran service officers to the number given to us about Big VA, and he asked me this question: how many veterans do we have in North Carolina? I said, I don't know. I know what Big VA said, that they're about the largest number I heard is 723,000, but I suspect that there are 300,000 more than that. That's where we get that number 1 to 4,700 relationship. I also tell them that if the veterans service transition out, they would understand. So what I've told Lloyd Oscar, as well as Dennis McDonough, is that our TAP system is broke. The transition of what these veterans need coming out is broke. And if they're already out, we are now trying to reach them in order to do their benefits. One of the worst things that we have, and I heard him talking about area veterans, is that our Vietnam veterans don't like VA, don't carry VA until we hear from the widow where that person has passed, or they are so bad off they need to do something other than that initial transition out, and they go to that. I also rely on Mark Velos and Paul Cruz to tell me who these are. But I hear you with VA.gov. 2 reasons it hasn't worked. One is everybody in those rural areas we talk don't have access to VA.gov. And two, they don't understand how to follow all the drop down, and they never get all of the information they need so they can fully expect the declination coming back. That's why I say we need the television. This is what I told the General Assembly. You should fund 1 VA per county, that's 100. You should give 60 more to the state, who is responsible. We need a better educational system that doesn't take 27 chapters over 6 months to train a VSO. And 3, the PIB card should come simultaneously with their training so that they can actually help. That's how we fix the system. And guess what? It doesn't cost that much. And the state, I'm tired of losing, when I say losing, those veteran service officers to happen to be a rich county like Mecklenburg or Wake. It shouldn't be that way. I'm also looking at Big VA who says, hey, I've got to hire, because of the PAC Act, I've got to hire 35,000 more people to do it. Guess where they're coming? Because they pay more. They're coming to you and you're on the other side of trying to figure out how do we connect these veteran services together. So, this is what I propose, and every time you talk to a member of the General Assembly, because they've heard it, they just need you to remind them. 1, veteran service officers is a professional organization. It is not someone who just happens to be in the military and now they come. They have to learn how to connect you with your benefits. The state cannot make a veteran. That's a federal description. That's where you earn those benefits at. The state responsibility is to ensure that they appreciate your service, that they connect you with your benefits. And paying those that do that. Veteran service officers is not cheap labor. They are professionals who, just like we do, and one of the things that I've asked the state for is what us military folks call an MOS. I want class and comp to get on that to give an MOS with the requisite pay for every veteran services, regardless if they work for the state, or they work for a veteran service organization, or they work for the county. That's what we got to do in order to fix this. Now, here's what we've got to do in the meantime. We have got to realize that the biggest issue or the biggest groups that we're gonna have and what did the PAC Act do to us and what did the Mission Act do? Those are the elephants in the room, or the closest alligator to the boat. So this is what the PAC Act did. This is what the PAC Act did to us in North Carolina. Not only did it identify those who had burn pits, but it also said to the Vietnam era and the Agent Orange that you now have presumption and all that you've been fighting for needs to be fixed. And it also hit the Camp Lejeune water, you know, and it not only, I heard Crystal talk about those predators. You think predators were out before the Camp Lejeune water? You just have to just listen to the commercials. What I tell veterans that ask, what should I do about the Camp Lejeune water? I say apply. Remember now, it's just a civil act, just like Flint, Michigan water, and just like Jackson, Mississippi water. But remember, they're only paying, and I'm not chasing them get half of it, they're only paying for what you identify injury. They're not going to give you any treatment. Veterans is free, and you will be compensated if you need treatment in addition to what they will do for you. So you can do both, but do not stay away from the earned benefit that you have had and understanding. Now, the biggest elephant in the room is outreach. It's not enough of you to do the outreach. That's got to be our greatest challenge. I am fighting very hard to get more tellers. I need the tellers out there telling the benefits of what they deserve. So thank you for this, because this, again, I'm a person of action. We've heard it, now we're going to do something about it. And that's what I've said to the General Assembly. Because what we have done here is identify you as having the sources to connect. That's why the BBLs are so important. We come there and people are bragging about the one-stop shopping. That's how the system should work when you walk into a Veterans Service office, because they can connect you automatically with your benefits. Issue when you spend 2 hours in the VSO's office, could have been the same 6 hours that you spend at a BBL. Because all of them are connected in getting the right information that you need. And that's why it is important that we find solutions and not lip service. I told them they all have dreams of helping the veterans, but a dream without resources is a nightmare. And that's what you deal with every day, and that's what we're going to fix. Thank you for your committee, for the panel here, because they're hitting it right on, but I want you to know that the state part of that, that's what you need to hold me responsible, because I'm telling them every day how to get off the dime. And it starts with paying you for your service and get more of it. That's what we got. Thank you.
We have a question in the back.
Yeah. It's not a question, it's more of a statement. With the...
You're just trying to get away from that. I know.
Yeah. Hello? Hello? Okay. Hey, my name is Moses Flory. I'm with the Vet Center program. I just want to let you know of the new update with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs Vet Center program. We have new eligibilities that some of you might not be aware, so I'm going to let you know of all our eligibilities. First and foremost, with the Vet Center, we're the only portion of the VA that can see active duty and veteran for any combat theater operations, regardless of discharge or service connection or enrollment in VA healthcare. Both the service member and the veteran and their family members can receive mental health care at the Vet Center. So that's always been there. The other thing that's always been there is military sexual trauma victims and survivors and their family members can receive readjustment counseling at the vet center as well. And the last one that you've always known, or some of you might have not known, is bereavement counseling for those who lost their loved ones in the line of duty. So the new updates to the vet center program and our eligibility outside of the big three is that we can serve as any guard or reserve at any drill status, like they're drilling on the weekend, for any mental health condition. I'm going to repeat that. Guard and reserve in any drill status can receive mental health counseling at the vet center. That's not combat, that's not MSP, that's not trauma, that's any mental health help, therapy-wise, at a vet center. That's for anybody in a drill status. The other thing with the new legislation that came out is that every vet center will provide mental health counseling to any veteran using an education entitlement going to school. So again, a student veteran using a VA education entitlement that's receiving that entitlement going to school at a 2-year or 4-year, they can receive mental health counseling at a vet center as well. And then the last one that we've added is bereavement counseling. We offer that for any veteran who has died. Their family members can now receive bereavement counseling at the vet center. So to look at our new eligibilities, just go to vetcenter.com, va.gov. That'll be out there, but I wanted to let you know the new eligibility status for the vet center, which is brand new. Thanks.
Thank you. And if that vet center fan is outside, it's very nice if you haven't got to look at it. Next up, we have Mr. Paul Berry, who's going to talk about all of these strategic partnerships that we have.
All right, I bet you have no problem hearing me. My middle name is Brendan. I'm aware of time, okay? So I'm going to be fast because I want to yield a little bit of time to the amazing Lee Tabor and Christy. Thanks for making that drive all the way from Macon County in front of it. It means a lot just to see you here. Did a couple things from Veterans Bridge Home. I know Don Timmons is here, and Don's a Vietnam veteran. I see Paul Dillon back there. Paul, thanks for making that drive out too. Both Vietnam veterans, and welcome home, job well done. And Jim Hoffman from Veterans Bridge Home too. The Michael's thing, I'll get you. I got Mike, M-I-C. Is that how you spell it? M-I-C. M-I-C. I'm sorry. I want to tell you your comment. Building veterans local communities. We've worked a lot with them on a lot of stuff, particularly around Alamance County, and it's groundbreaking. It takes time, it's research, but it's moving it. And then I want to put a plug in. If you're not connected to the Veterans Coffees like the one yesterday across Central Park or East across North Carolina, corner Don Timmons over there, it's Everything Coffee. And I'll say, Mark, for you, a dear friend of mine was one of those 26 on your slide. If you know what I'm talking about, that number 26, a dear friend of mine whose life was changed for the better, significant change in it. That makes it personal. Every VA benefits slide I've been to has been something that's close to me personally. I don't want to make this about me, but my goodness, just game changing. I'm going to hit a couple big CVEB things and I'll shut up so Lee can come up here and talk about the great work going out there in the Blue Ridge. Recently, at the end of July, we attended the National Veterans Resource Community Network meeting in Nashville. And represented from there was North Carolina DMVA, Veterans Bridge Home, Mecklenburg County VSOs, Wake County VSOs, and the CVEB in Greenville, North Carolina. That was the only state that had that level of representation. And the connections from that is now, Lee, this works for you and Christy, is Phil, and you've met Phil from the CVEB in Greenville, is he is now connected to the North Carolina Rural Partners Network formed through VEO and the VA. And they're actually meeting tomorrow in Wilson, North Carolina, in the rural area. We'll start talking about things that I know Jeff's this somewhere here. One of his questions has always been, is there funding for this? This is the beginning of the grants and all that too. Finally, for CVEBs, this is that very beginning round one distribution for grants. And then recently, 1 to 3 August, we were up at Syracuse University that started this America Serves, NC Serves thing. And America's Warrior Partnership and IVMF partnered for the first time to do their 10th annual symposium. I say all this is what was mentioned the entire time was CVEBs, social determinants of health, partnerships, collaborations. So it's all going on at the right levels. And sir, to your point, resources and discussion with our VA partners was, well, we can't do this without the proper resources funded at the federal and state level. It has to be funded. We know what we want, we know what we need, but we got to fund it. And then just about wrapping up, later this week, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners is meeting in Raleigh, and I'm attending on Saturday morning, and they got a couple things. Dr. Mike Haney from IVMF that does the America Serves model. He's the keynote speaker, and then there's a screening on a documentary that Wake County has put together about connecting veterans, the resources back into the communities they reintegrate. And Savon Norris from Wake County Veteran Services, she's on a panel similar to this panel. So it's happening at that kind of level. And then the last thing I have is earlier in the month, I attended the Triad Veterans Coalition in Goodwill in Greensboro. Dawn Timmons, Dawn was there, thank you for stopping by. There were 17 community partners at Goodwill from Greensboro. And I have pages of notes. So everything that we're talking about with CVEBs is the exact same thing that everyone else is talking about, but we got to bring it together so we can funnel it to people like Mark Belos, Gabby, the secretary, and funnel that information. And we're just at that point right now. So I'm going to shut up so the amazing Lee Tabor can come up here. Lee. Take it away.
In the mountains, we have electricity, and makes us sound really, really bad. So my name is Lee Tabor. I'm a co-chair for the Blue Ridge Veterans Community Partnership. I'm way out in Macon County, which is Franklin, North Carolina, about an hour west of Asheville. My co-chair Jeremy Hughes is here. My co-worker Christy Black, who's a VSO as well. She's on the board of the CVEB. We've been doing the CVEB since late 2015, early 2016. And let me tell you that without the CVEB, the connections that I have in my office, I would not have. So Mr. Workes, Mr. Belos, the Charles George VA Medical Center Director, Ms. Young, if we have an issue, they are on it. They're so accessible. The partnership is phenomenal. I can't tell you how many things that we've accomplished just due to that partnership. So we've got a lot of members, a lot of VSOs. We continue to meet through COVID. We did Zoom meetings, so I know a lot of places didn't even meet. They completely shut down, so we were still busy. News and events for us. There's been several things. Alan Percow, I don't know if any of y'all know Alan. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's from Buckham County. He's a real go-getter. If you know Alan, you know Alan. But he's managed to put together a lot of these town halls about PACT Act. We've done suicide training, and I also wanted to brag on our VA Benefits Live again. Had the CVEB not looped us together, and I heart to Mr. Belos and I heart to Chris, and it was like, come out west, come out west. And they came out west. And so it was a little bit different. It was a 3-county event because we are rural, we're a lot smaller. They came to Murphy, which is Cherokee County, and if you know the saying Murphy to Manio, it's as far west as you can get in North Carolina. Franklin, which is in Macon County, and then Columbus, which is in Polk County. We saw 178 veterans from 5 states, and in the 3 days, there was $94,421 in retroactive benefits given out. Also, there were 38 PACT claims and 42 veterans who chose VA for the first time. So that's huge in a rural area. That's huge. And so we're extremely grateful for that and for the partnership. The Charles George VA Medical Center was there as well. It was just terrific what happened there. Those veterans were so humbled that VA remembered them, that VA recognized them. I live in a county that is bordered by a county that has a half-time service officer that has 2 other counties that have no service officers, and then we also border the state of Georgia. So to say that we get slammed, and we also have a CVEB, community-based outpatient clinic in Macon County, so we get veterans from all over. I've heard of counties in the state of North Carolina who will only see their county. I'm not doing that. If it's a veteran and he walks through my door, Christy and myself are going to do whatever we can to help them. It doesn't matter where they're from. And the PACT Act has killed us. I mean, there's been many days we were like, are we going to live through this? It's been wonderful, but it's also goes back to funding. I did ask for a part-time position, just a part-time position in my county. My county said not happening. So we're swamped, and these bigger counties are swamped. I mean, we're all swamped, but we're all doing this to work for veterans. I'm going to go back to funding again for just a second too. Again, myself, Jeremy, and Christy are all on the board for Together with Veterans, which is the Rural Suicide Initiative. We were fortunate enough to be gifted this, which is federal VA funding, and it was a slow crawl because we started in COVID, right when COVID started. After COVID sort of did its thing, and we were able to get back together. We've hit the ground running. We have made so much progress in our little county. We've expanded to other counties, and what we've learned, and we're able to do this because of funding. If we didn't have this VA funding, we would not be able to provide these events and these services. But we've learned that just getting our veterans together in these social groups, in this very informal, no agenda, no meeting, and we have seen the results. It's phenomenal what we've seen. We've seen veterans who are struggling, who now have a family because they have their veterans, their brothers, their sisters to hang out with, for that camaraderie. We had a veteran who was 6 months prior graduated with his master's degree from a local university and had a mental health breakdown, very serious mental health breakdown. And literally, these folks that he met through our social group that we had formed were out on the streets looking for him. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And he has had such a support system after this event, because honestly, I believe had he not had this group, that he may be one of those statistics today. So this initiative has been phenomenal. And we're doing a lot with our CVEB. We continue to work with the regional office and the VA Medical Center on stuff. Most of it is nationwide. It's not just something that's local in Winston-Salem or local in Asheville. And they're bending over backwards to help us resolve some issues that we found. Transportation continues to be an issue. So, we're still just going as we can. And I want to thank you all for letting us have a moment here just to express that. I am the face of rural. Just remember, we've got other veterans and other communities that are even more rural than us, and they don't have service officers. So it is a major, major deal. And when you hear me talk, you're going to hear me talk about rural, because we just do not have the resources. We do not have the funding, and a lot of it's geography. We don't have internet some places. It's just, as Mr. Gaskin said, it's totally, we're in a nightmare, a resource nightmare, absolutely.
Elliot, you speak about the vet center goal back in the day, 6 years ago, where we're at now that?
Yeah, real quick, Alan McCown, he's on our board. He's a Vietnam veteran. When he came back from Vietnam, he worked out in San Diego in a vet center. So he knew firsthand the importance of it. We've asked and asked, for everyone from the president down to try to get a vet center in our area. We wanted a brick and mortar. We weren't able to get that, but because of the CVEB and our connections and just the drive that our community and our stakeholders have, we now have a vet center, and I can't forget my good friend back there. We have a vet center. We have an employee who travels from Cherokee to Macon County, and so she's serving those veterans. Even though it's not a brick and mortar, even though she's having to drive around, we're getting those veterans served. So the engagement, the connectedness, that's what it's all about. Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy. Yes.
You mentioned about the county association convention.
Oh, yes. I'm the vice president of the North Carolina Association of County Veteran Service Officers, and we have our fall meeting, and here we go, mountains again, rural again. We're going to be in Cherokee, North Carolina. Anybody ever heard of that? So that's where we're actually going to be for our conference. That's October 2nd through the 6th at the Harris Cherokee Casino and Resort. So if you're someone in here that would want to speak or be at that event, you know, let me know, hook up with me, because I can work on that.
Dates?
October 2nd through the 6th. And that's also the Eastern Band of Cherokee, their Indian fair that they have. And so on Friday, we're going to end about mid-morning, and they have a big event for veterans there, and it's for all the communities. It's great. Really good. So, thank you.
You know, draw your slides, I'm just going to show a few.
Sorry.
Priority focus areas. Areas where we know there's room for improvement. There is the little corner of North Carolina. All right. Thank you so much, Lee. Lee is my hero. If y'all don't know, she is my hero. She took that together with Veterans Initiative and just, like she said, hit the ground running. She has so much support from her county and from the neighboring counties, and I'm just so happy to just be acquainted with you.
Thank you. Well, I can do it with my comrades here. And I'm here with the state. Jeremy's the regional manager, and our partnership out west with him is phenomenal. Everybody.
Shout out to Jeremy, who's regional manager, and Ms. Christy Black, who is Lee's sidekick there, the right hand at the Veteran Services. I do not know how y'all do everything that you do. In Western North Carolina, there are billboards that are called the Western North Carolina Purpose, is the name that they've given their Together with Veterans program. And they have billboards out there with 988 number. They're absolutely gorgeous. I am so jealous because I want them in Charlotte. Where my director is. Yes.
I will just mention that we named our group Western North Carolina Veterans Purpose because consistently, that's what veterans said, I need a purpose. And Chrissy was having a conversation with one of our Gulf War veterans, and he was like, you know, I came home, I have no purpose. And she was like, you know, they all say purpose and purpose. And it's like after that, it was literally almost eerie because it was like every other day we would hear veterans saying, I don't have a purpose. I don't, like it has to be purpose. And I think that's what they're all looking for, is a purpose.
So if you could not hear her, she's just explaining that the Together with Veterans program, which is a rural suicide prevention program that Rocky Mountain Myrick began, they named their group Western Carolina Veterans because they continued to hear from veterans that they did not have a purpose. And they worked really, really hard to give them purpose. And I think that's something we can all learn from. So thank y'all for all your work. It's wonderful. All right, we have mental health first aid. We have several classes that are coming up in person, September the 6th in Winston-Salem, September the 7th in Raleigh, September the 12th in Rayford, that's Hope County, and September the 19th in Greensboro. And you can email Alex O'Neill with the Governor's Institute for more information if you are interested in enrolling in one of those classes. We absolutely love for people to get trained in mental health awareness because it improves all. It's good for all. It's good for your family members, not just for veterans, it's for everyone. That you can recognize the signs of mental illness and help and assist. All right. In my hometown, Charlotte, 1017, and the subcommittee sync will be on 11/16. Governor's Working Group back in Raleigh. I can't believe we're talking about January.
2024, but they are January 15th, 2024. Subcommittee on 2/22. Oh, the Governor's Working Group is racing into Charlotte. So on October 17th at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, our final public meeting of the year. Look at that. Woo-hoo. I'm excited. I like a little bit of racing. All right. If you would like email updates, please go to ncgwg.org and sign up. There's Uncle Sam there, so you're on our emailing list. And just go ahead and fill that out. You get the email updates. Always, you can join by live stream. Let your friends and family know they can go on Facebook and like the Governor's Institute. And on the day that we live stream, it will notify you that we are going live. Of course, there's Carolina Captioning, offers captioning for the program, and the meeting agenda and minutes. That means all of our presentations are there again at ncgwg.org. Yes, Lucas Babursky, come on up.
Ms. Crystal, thanks so much, and thank you all. I was just wondering, any chance we're going to get new resource guides in November? I think it's been about 2 years.
Question is about resource guides, the NBA.
We're working on it now. Yeah. Terrific. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
All right. Resource guides being worked on. Dave has one final thought. Thank you all, and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Lucas, thank you very much for bringing that up. For the question was about the new edition of the NC for Vets Resource Guide. I know that the DMVA, Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, are plugging away on that. That is going to be a phenomenal publication. In the meantime, go to nc4vets.org. You can search your county. You can search by your service office, by individual categories of service. And in the meantime, that's going to be our most up-to-date piece. The other thing, so this says, we call it the Governor's Working Group, right? This is your working group. And we want to make this working group work for you. And so I absolutely encourage you, everybody, I know everybody's got a phone in your pocket, let's take out those things. Come on, I'm looking at you. Reach in there, hit this QR code. We want as much feedback as humanly possible. No opinions are dismissed. This is something that I personally go through with the GI team, and we want to hear from you. The final thing for October, seating is going to be limited. We can only cram so many chairs into the Hall of Fame, and so when you see those email notifications hit your inbox, go ahead and register for the event right as soon as that opens up. That said, we have a little bit of space for subcommittees if anybody wants to huddle, if any of our leaders want to huddle up with their subcommittees. And Mike, you have one thing.
Yeah, one thing. If I could just come up real quick. Hello. Yeah. So I just wanted to send it out there and get a chance to put it in the slides, but if you're interested more about the Building Veteran Healthy Communities Project, we have a podcast. It's called Salute to Strength, the Building Veteran Healthy Communities Project. We're interviewing stakeholders in the community. We have people from benefits. We have people who are working on the community level, policy level. If you'd like to interview on that podcast, please let me know, and I can connect you to that. We're looking for everybody. We're just trying to get this thing out and share it to as many folks as we can. So thank you.
Please.
Yeah. Thank you. One thing I failed to mention, after attending the directors meeting in Buffalo, New York, one thing that became abundantly clear, and I want you to give these guys a round of applause. Our VBA and our Vision 6 is the best in the nation. collections or the coordination that we have here, and you, Mark, and I thought I saw Fort Cruz, but anyway, you were asking, this is good. This is why we can able to have these discussions about that connectivity. I just want to make sure that we gave those guys recognition that they go out of the reserve. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much. Drive safely. Make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you get your email in there to